Welcome to Amplify. I'm your host, Candice Dormon. On this show, we shine a light on people making moves, grinding, hustling, and being excellent because it's 2020 and there's still a lot of firsts and onlys across almost every industry. So let's dig in. Hi, Brent. Hi, Uchena. Thanks for joining the show.
Hey, no problem.
Uchena, are you there? Can we hear you?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, good. I was worried. I was like, we just did a whole sound check. What happened?
No, we're good. We're on.
Oh my gosh. So Father's Day is right around the corner, and I'm so excited to shine a light on dads. And so I'm so glad to have you guys here today. Let's do a quick introduction. Originally from Houston, Texas, Uchena now lives in Southern California with his wife and 2 sons. He's a product development specialist in the oil and gas and safety industry. And Brent lives in New York City with his wife, daughter, and son, and has been married for 6 years. He works in analytics for an advertising agency. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show.
Happy to be
Thanks for
here.
having us, Candice.
I'm also from Houston, Texas. That's why I gave that, like, which one is she talking about?
Oh, what about me? Both of you. Did you guys know each other before school?
Yeah.
So
Well, before we've actually went to the same school since 6th grade.
Whoa. Yeah. So full disclosure, I met Brent and Uchena at Tufts. We all went to the same school, and it looks like they've been friends since 6th grade.
Yeah.
So it's so good. So good. So I want to just jump right in. It's June, right? Father's Day is right around the corner, and it's a time of year. I mean, I think we should always be shouting out dads, but it's a time of year where you guys get some props when moms are always the star of the show. So,
get a little bit of props.
Just a little bit of props, just a little bit of props. And usually it's just one day. I am glad to be highlighting dads like all month. That's my jam this month. So why don't we jump right in and start with moms, because we can't not talk about them. Why don't you tell us how you met your wife? Let's start with Brent. How did you meet your wife?
So my wife also went to the same college we all went to.
I know, it's like to club.
I know, but it was actually Uchena's fault, because when I moved to New York, Uchena set us up.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And so you guys weren't dating in school, you started dating after school.
Yep.
They didn't really know each other in school.
Exactly. Wow. Just 2 ships passing. So yeah.
Nice, cool. And Uchena, how'd you meet your wife?
So Brent is besides Brent, she's the person I've known the longest out of anybody I know.
Okay.
So we're Houston as well too, and we've always been best friends. So I met her, I think, in church back when I was a child. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. There's no great story. We met as kids, so.
And how long have you guys been married?
6.
6 years.
Yeah.
You guys are on the same timeline. I love it.
Yeah. I went to his wedding.
Yeah, about actually, yeah.
And then
I was supposed to go to his, and I didn't make it.
I'm sorry, the voice cut out. What did you say?
I said I was supposed to go to Brent's, but I didn't make it, unfortunately. I had missed my flight.
Oh,
yeah.
Because he had his wedding ceremony was it was just like a you know how we have, like, a lot of people have the wedding and then the reception and then all the events before and all after. Mm-hmm. Brent's was an event. And so that morning, and I missed my flight, and because I'm all the way on the West Coast, the next flight they had scheduled was for the next day. So the most I could have done was actually get in and make it to, like, the last maybe 30 minutes of the event. And my sister was in New York at the time anyway, and culturally it's like when one of us are around, then we're all there. So my sister was
the emissary.
Best man.
Yeah. And thus gave his speech.
She gave my speech
him through the phone.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Great. It was great because she also live edited his speech. She was like, "No, I'm not going to say that. No, skip forward.
That's great. That's great. I mean, those are the kinds of things that, like, in the moment, it feels devastating. But one, you've got a great story out of it. And two, you guys have been friends for so long that, like, forgiveness is there, right? We get it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a great speech, though. Like, her
But
version
we ain't perfect.
was awesome, though.
I love it. I love it. So let's move into, like, your dad life. So how did you guys know that you were ready and wanted to be a dad, a father? Who's going to go first? Let's go Uchena first.
Yeah, Uchena, go ahead.
I don't know, honestly. So I remember when I realized I was ready. It was one of those things that I was talking to Clarabelle, and she was telling me, like, I want kids, and I'm like, oh, but then I think I'm a technical person. She kind of put into the language I speak, which is math. She's like, look, if you have children and you're 30 years old, by the time they get out of college, or by the time they get old enough to go to college, you're going to be damn near 50, right? And that's your first kid. If you want kids, that means you're going to be 60 something when the last one gets out of high school. So how are you going to be when the last one gets married? How are you going to be playing with your grandkids? And I was like, I started going like, oh. All right, let's go. So, I mean, I knew I wanted kids.
I love her.
I reluctantly, she always forgets, but that's the way that you always convince me. And so I not reluctantly, but I knew I wanted to have kids. So I was like, all right, well, just do what we normally do, but then, just time it. Right.
Right.
So it was the second ultrasound. The first ultrasound is the heartbeat. Right. And the second ultrasound, I remember seeing the kid like this.
The little, like, Teddy Graham.
And then it opened up and you clearly saw feet and arms, and you can see that there were fingers. You couldn't see, like, the fingers specifically, and you all moving independently. And I sat down and then I, like, walked out of the room and just sat down right outside. When we left, I sat down and I just couldn't move for, like, it felt like an hour, but it was probably like 2 minutes. Realized that, like, it's on, it's game time.
It's really happening. That's amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I love that. That little teddy bear. It's like, I think of it as the teddy bear ultrasound, and it gets really real fast.
Yeah, it was rough. But
and what about you, Brent? How did you know?
So I feel like some guys always have that, like, one day I'm gonna tell my kids blah blah blah. So, like, the desire is always there. I remember for us, it was a matter, we did the same thing, we did the math, but also I remember it wasn't like, oh, we were going to try to have kids. We just stopped preventing.
Right,
so
right.
Whatever happened. And I remember being told, like, we're pregnant. And, like, for me, it was just elation. Like, I was just thinking about all the things. So it was one of those things where, like, with each step, I was ready. So, yeah.
Nice. I love that. And how would you describe yourself, Brent, as a dad? What 3 adjectives would you use?
Ooh, 3.
Patient. Okay, patient.
Yeah, definitely patient. Yeah. You know how, like, kids like to ask something over and over again? I'm that dude that I can just go down the rabbit hole. Like, let's see where this goes. So, patient. And methodical with that. Like, I kind of like to preemptively stop them from doing something that I know they're going to do. So I'm always telling them I can read your mind. And beyond that, I just say, like, a bit of a robot, dad is always going to be the rock. Like, you're crying. It's okay. You're happy. It's not that. I'm bring them back to the center. So,
got it. You temper it in either direction.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. And what about you, Uchena? How would you describe yourself as a dad?
So it's gonna sound redundant, but definitely patient, because these kids, patient, especially this 19. I mean, I've always thought I was a patient person. I told Claire, like, yo, you need to pull out all the stops this Father's Day, because I'm surprised and impressed with myself, and I don't toot my horn. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty patient. So patience is one. Two, right? Patience is one. Methodical. Again, I mean, yeah, it's what Brent said, but methodical. I tell people all the time, parenting's not hard as long as you completely stop having any desire of your own. If you just stop and get your day up completely, then it's easy. But it's when we want to do stuff for us too. That's the part that makes it more difficult. So in order to combat that, I have to spend a lot of time literally making graphs and like being methodical in my approach on so many different things, playing mental warfare, but then also not.
Wait, playing mental warfare with your kids?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. My kids, I was accused of doing like reverse psychology, you know. One of my kids wiped his butt, and I told him that he's going to go to kindergarten, and I told him you got to start. You got to wipe it yourself. You know how to do it. Wipe it yourself. I'll come back and I'll check. And he's like, no. And I was like, okay, don't wipe your butt. And then he's like, no, I'll wipe it. I'm like, I'm not. But for me, and I know Brent understands. Like, I'm serious. Just okay, don't wipe it. Get boo boo. You get boo boo, you're gonna clean it. Like I'm gonna go back to what I'm doing.
Right.
So people say that's mental warfare, but it's me just being honest. And it's like, no, I don't got time for that. I'm patient. I'm understanding. But okay, don't.
Yeah.
Right? And then the third one, I guess, in that same vein, is I try understanding, right, of the kid. It's really easy to tell a child to do what I say, but not as I do, or why do you want me to do that? Because I said so. And my children were those classic, ridiculously picky eaters. And, it's a matter of being honest with them and tell them, like, listen, I know these vegetables, this is disgusting. I know it, right? If you eat them, you're going to feel better later, right? And it's going to make you a little bit more regular down there. And it's going to make you stronger and healthier. And it doesn't taste as good as like this thing, but we got to eat this. You want to get strong, right? You want to do this, right? You want to do this. Right? Like, yeah, I'm like, well, you just got to just close it out and eat it. Close it out and eat it. I'll give you some juice. It won't taste in your mouth. And my wife always talks about, like, they trust you. It's because I tell them, like, honestly, like, just, yeah, it's going to suck. Nobody likes cleaning up their room, and nobody likes tracing their letters over and over again. But you can't go through life and not know how to read. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. All right, forget it. All right, let's go. And so I'm
leverage.
Patient, methodical, and honest. You know.
And honest. I like that. That's really good. That piece that you said about giving up your day, I feel like just today I had that experience of I'm trying to prepare for the show and I don't have time because I'm trying to prepare for the show, but they want your attention, and there would be no clash if I would just give them the attention. So
done.
it means you have to have a whole nother life after they go to sleep. And that's when I'm tired. So it's always trying to manage those two things.
Yeah. One of the moms that I follow or whatever, she said she was hiding in a closet eating Twizzlers.
Yeah.
And the kids were underneath the door like this. And she said, I love this quote. She wasn't trying to be deep or anything. She said, they want everything I have and they won't go away.
Yep.
That is parenting. That is motherhood all totally through with you.
I'm devious with my kids. If there's anything that I want them to eat, I make it for myself.
Oh.
And then I'm like, this is daddy's. And then of course,
that's when they want it.
It is now the one thing in life they have
to get at that moment.
And so I'm like, all right, I'll let you have some, but daddy loves you. So yeah.
Don't forget it. Don't forget when I did this. James says that to Lincoln. Sometimes he like reluctantly doesn't want to do something and he goes, don't enjoy it. Don't you have fun? Don't have fun sitting next to me. Don't have any fun. And then he's like, and they start laughing. But you're right. It is mental warfare. We just have to
headphones are dangerous.
Say that again?
So these headphones are dangerous.
Why?
Because I can't hear the ambient destruction going on in the house.
Oh, ambient destruction.
The destruction sounds need to be right here. Once they go up to here, that's when intervention needs to happen. But I got agents on the
one in, one off.
Nice.
I got it.
We were
Now
talking.
we're responsible.
Right.
Baby boy's napping right now, and he has like levels of waking up. So his first one is like he wakes up a little bit and cries as if like, hey, come get me. And if you come get him, he'll be awake. But if you don't, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna go back to sleep.
Nice.
So he just did that one.
I don't have any of that. My son wakes up like my older son, my 6-year-old, he wakes up like there's a springboard under him, right? And so he just pops up and he goes to brush his teeth, put on his clothes, and grab his iPad like immediately. There's no lingering. There's no like eye rubbing. Just immediately he's up and ready. And I'm just like, dude, I need a second.
He's an early bird, man.
Early bird.
My kids and my wife, early birds. Me, I'm the night owl. And I'm starting to think baby girl is transitioning to be a night owl. So like,
well, because she wants all your time.
Yeah, exactly.
She knows that you're getting away with that at nighttime.
Yeah. So she's the one who's like, but I'm not tired. I'm like, that's nice. Bedtime.
Methodical bedtime. I love it. So we just talked about how you see yourself as a dad. What do you enjoy most about being a dad?
I enjoy the mental warfare. So I enjoy doing things like that, like my kids, so that I could teach them how to say please. Every time they ask for something, like, Daddy, I want apple juice. I'm like, that's nice. What do we say when we want something? Please. So just every time until they start doing it, for themselves. So I enjoy the, game of chess that it is. Like, oh, I know you're going to want this. For instance, the vegetables. Cool. I also know you want to do this. If you do eating all the vegetables, you can do this. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad.
Wow.
So I enjoy like all of that, like leveraging and setting it up. I mean, it's not fair. They're little, I'm big, but the game is still fun.
Not fair. Life is not fair. What about you, Uchena? What do you like the most about being a dad?
Man, the first thing I noticed with the first was that you're being a parent, you get to witness a human learn everything, right? You don't really children don't know how to breathe well. They don't know how to eat food well. They come out literally not being good at anything, right? Their immune system don't even work all that good. Like we're just that great when we show up on a scene, and everything has to be learned. You're watching this kid try to figure out this breathing thing, and I mean, it doesn't lie. I mean, they get it down for the most part after a couple of days or whatever. But they got to take school how to eat. They have to. You watch them stare at your lips to learn how to talk. You watch every single thing. And then at some point in time, you realize that you are instrumental in giving this person their foundation of every single thing they're ever going to learn in their life.
Yep.
And so I take that responsibility very seriously. My parents are teachers, and there's nothing I value more in this world than teachers. And so my favorite thing is just taking that responsibility and throwing as much information at these kids as I can, because the one thing that children like more than like attention is information. And my kids will talk about everything and things I'm not even experts on. I just expose them to it. So they'll talk about how antibodies work within your system. They'll talk about B lymphocytes, and I'm not a medical person, but they talk about conduction and combustion and So like after this, we're gonna go to the park and launch bottle rockets because we got to talk about pressure and like fluid dynamics and stuff like that. And I love that because I nerd out on that stuff all the time. And you know, you think it's funny when I'm sitting down telling a child about Newton's laws of motion, but then they're doing it through their Hot Wheels and their magnet sets and stuff like that. It's just, I love it. I can't get enough of it. And I actually want to probably start doing that like for a living. But that's something that just completely consumed me. And that's my favorite part about being a father. And also, not to ramble, it sounds real like mushy, but one of my favorite parts is looking at my first son. Literally just looking at him because he
looks like you.
The image. And it's the most surreal and the weirdest thing. I can't even explain it. When he came out, I have a picture of myself right when I was born, like maybe within the first hour. He like me in the first hour, in the first day, 3 years, 4 years later. And I love thinking about real, like just where we all came from. And we were all like this at some point. That's my favorite. Those are my favorites. So
I love it. Real cerebral and emotional, if I go out on a limb and say that. I love it.
I got emotion. I'm an emotional person.
So tell me, are there any surprises in fatherhood? You guys are still early in the game. So what surprised you the most? We're at I think you guys, I think the oldest here is 6 years old, right? Your oldest kid here? Or is
How was your oldest?
He was 5. He about to be 5. He's 4.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they're 4.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. All right. So yeah, 4.
Yeah, Ava and Do are about the same age.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you've been at this for 4 years, 4.5 years, right? Almost 5, actually. Takes 10 months, not 9. So almost 5 years. Any surprises? Like, what's the biggest surprise is the better question. All of it's a surprise.
That's a hard question to answer.
No, the thing that surprises me the most is the speed at which they pick up things. So for me,
God.
It's I remember both of them learning to walk. And one week it was like, you know, I'm barely standing up and I'm cruising. And then the next week is like, what? I've been walking since like forever. What are you I'm an expert at this. Like, why are you treating me like I'm just starting this? Like, come on, Dad. Last week was forever ago.
Right.
So yeah. And 1 or 2 times of them, so literally baby boy, the other week I said, "You good?" And he goes, and now this is he thumbs up everything. Like that's his favorite thing to do. He learned it like over 2 times of me doing it to him. That's it. It's his thing. So yeah, the speed at which they can pick up, and you know, now this is just part of the lexicon of knowledge that they have. Yeah. Awesome.
And it's necessary because, like Uchena said, they come out not knowing anything. And so every single thing, like, I think it's incredible how the mind works. And there's a reason why we can't remember that.
It happening in real time.
Like, you see the synapses firing, but there's a reason why we can't remember that far back. And it's because I imagine that all of that information, all of the pain of growing teeth, all of that all at once, it's no wonder why kids are a hot mess. And at the turn of a dime, they just fall apart. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Hot mess.
I remember the first time baby girl saw a dog, she just looks at him and is like, "What's wrong with that kid?" So you're like,
"What kid is that?"
Different animal. Like we'll get into animals. But
you know, kind of going off of what Brent said is just not just I think we just sell kids too short. Like,
yeah,
my youngest he just turned 3 like the other day, and this dude. So we always say we don't know what he was rushing for because he was like 3 or 4 months trying to crawl, like 3 months, 4 months trying to crawl so much that he was ripping his nails, his toenails off his feet.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned how to crawl basically like around 7 months, and I was doing that for a couple weeks, and I was walking. We're like, where you? He was rolling over at 4 months. He was just at a rush, and they always surprise us about how much they learn, how fast they learn, and the amount of memory the amount of information they can contain. So my 2-year-old can explain to you Newton's first, second, and third law of motion, and he can do that in 2-year-old language. So yeah, it's not wrong, but I always tell him no, it's not right. But I always tell him, I mean, you're not wrong.
Right.
He can explain very complicated stuff he just doesn't have the vocabulary to do it concisely. But he gets it. And so I'll set up things and experiments or ask him questions. What happens next if we do this, or how do we fix that? And it's just amazing of how much they can learn. And I'm like, oh, this is why people tell you to like teach kids like 7 languages at a time, because they'll just do it. They'll just do it. That's a surprising thing for me.
At a certain age, they just do it because they don't have any sense of not being able to do it. No one has told them yet that they can't.
Exactly.
Or that they shouldn't be able to. And so it comes back to just how incredible human beings are, how incredible the brain is, how incredible the body is. Like, that's the thing that, is surprising for me as a parent, just getting to see these things in real time. Like you said, you didn't get to see yourself
being a witness.
But being a witness, absolutely. Yeah. On those lines, a lot of the things that you guys have talked about sound like, they're connected to your personal qualities. What do you see in your kids that oh, they got that from me? Like, that's definitely me.
So my kids as you know me, I'm the type that, like, if you say something wrong, I will correct you, just because, one, I care about you. Essentially, it's not because I don't want you to, like, I'm not saying it's because I'm being mean. It's more so, look, you can say it wrong in front of me, but I don't want you to say it wrong in the world. So I'm going to correct you now, so that when you get out in the world, you'll say it correctly, or more so, like, you just won't say it incorrectly in front of anybody else.
Right.
My kids catch everything. So, like, anything that I've told them, they'll throw it right back. So I know you get that from me, like, because I'm that person. I've always said, like, if my kids catch me slipping, I'm not even going to be mad. I'll just be like, you're right. But you gotta catch me.
Gotta catch me first.
Yeah.
What about you, Uchena?
Oh, man.
Everything. He's your
mom. Poor mom. So number one looks exactly like me. Number 2 looks exactly like mom, but acts exactly like me.
Yeah.
Both of my boys have inherited, maybe, and you know me, Candice. I'm a calm person, but I like having fun, right? Mm-hmm. They've inherited like 90% of my personality, but they don't have the restraint of a 30-year-old. They have the restraint of a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So there's not, honestly, I can't really think. Temper. I don't have a very high temper.
Okay.
The temper for me.
Listen, we're talking about you here. We're not talking about wives. We're not talking about moms.
Okay.
Just bring it back to us.
Okay. Comedic timing and letting awkward situations float.
That is you.
Figured it out. I don't know if it was genetic or just off of with them watching. I'm pretty sure it was both, but they just they do the most awkward thing and then deadpan stare at you until you break, and then they will laughing.
Yeah,
that's definitely them. They're just awkward and they have good timing, and they love just making people uncomfortable. There it is. Like, when I say clone, I mean clone. Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about sort of like family traditions. Can you tell me a little bit about a family tradition that you had growing up, and then maybe how that you have managed to continue that with your own family, or if you don't have any, something that maybe you're starting?
One tradition that we grew up with that wasn't really a tradition. I think most of the traditions that I can remember growing up, my parents grew up here. And they were really, my parents were busy when we were younger. They were working a lot. They were immigrants to this country whose status was in flux. But we didn't really do a lot of things that I would consider as like normal family traditions until we got a little older, until things got a little more stable. And those traditions typically revolved around like things like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. But the thing that I do remember as a kid growing up in Louisiana, and I was raised there for a very short period of time, so it's a very small memory and mostly transmitted through like pictures and stuff, was that our church had a duck pond behind or on the side of the church. And after church, every once in a while, I guess if we were good or whatever, my parents would take us out there and go feed the ducks. So feeding the ducks has always been something that reminds me of like church and family and togetherness and stuff like that. So every Easter, once I had my family, every Easter, I was like, it'd be great to feed the ducks.
Only on Easters.
And there's a lot of duck parks and stuff like that out here in Southern California. So we would, as a tradition, go out and feed the ducks on Easter and have like a little photo on Easter. And then, you know, not just Easter, if the kids were good, I'm like, hey, let's go feed the ducks. So it's just that, I don't know, that just has always symbolized the family bonding time to me, when honestly growing up, there wasn't a lot of family, I guess, traditional family bonding times. There's a lot of love, but my parents were real busy and trying to preoccupy with making it work and like keeping the house running and stuff. So rarely do we get a chance to slow down and enjoy everything all together at the same time. And the duck feeding was one of those things that has worked its way into my family. So
that's awesome. I love that. And what about you, Brent? A tradition that you remember and maybe you're trying to, recreate or expand with your own family?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have a lot of traditions, but we have a lot of sayings in my family. And so there's things that I know I got all the way back from my grandma that I'm passing down to my kids. So earlier when I said you do good, you get good, you do bad, you get bad, that's just passed down. Like my mom used to say it to me when I was little, and now I'm saying it to my kids. And now my kids say it back to me and to each other. So I can already tell.
And you're like, oh.
No, this is
but you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. I'm with it. So yeah,
you're not wrong. Okay.
It's passing on. So yeah, things like that, like all of the sayings. My grandma used to like say, love you. So like, I love that. I'm passing that down to them, and they're going to pass it on. So I love that.
I like that. That sounds really good. I find myself also saying things all the time that you wonder where you got them from, and then you remember. Or then I go visit my mom and she says the same thing, and I was like, like I've already become my mother, right? Like
the worst is when your kids say something and you're like, that's weird.
That.
You realize that you say that, and then you realize that your mom said that. And you're
right.
Like,
yep.
Also, real time, those things are coming to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I love that. No, I was just saying that's what I love. I love that. That's like as close to traditions as we have right now.
Okay, I like it. And then what advice would you give to a new dad? What things, now being 4 years in, like basically a pro, what would you have wanted someone to tell you to help you get through, the first 5 years?
I'm actually kind of glad that I just discovered everything as we go. Like, I like the challenge of not having had another dad that was like, oh yeah, watch out for this, that, and the third. Mainly because there's just some things you have to learn the hard way. I mean, granted, I don't like to learn anything the hard way, but for those things that you do, no one can shake that in you. And so the confidence that, okay, they're going to be okay. They're going to keep breathing through the night. Like after the first one, I remember waking up every 15 minutes, like, you still breathing?
Right.
You still breathing? All right, cool.
It's real.
All right. So now, like when the second one came and I was just like, you'll be fine.
Right.
Those kind of things. I would tell a new dad things like, just roll with the punches and be patient.
I like that. What about you, Uchena?
Man, if you ever want to see me like really, really smile, just show me a dad who's a person who's about to be a dad. the kids like maybe got another 2 months before they make their debut, and my cheeks will just light up. Like I love talking to them because I love seeing how stupid they sound, but how excited they are. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We've all been there, that wonder, that marvel, like, oh, it's gonna be great. I'm like, it is gonna be great. It's the best job in the world, I say. But man, I tell people, the one advice I do tell people is that, you know, I look at life like kind of like how we had textbooks in school. And so when you're going through life as a single person or whatever, you write the rules of life down. You know, you make some mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, you write that rule in. Maybe you write a rule in based off of what you saw, and you have this big book of rules of how to navigate life, how to treat women, how to do this, how to make your own food, how to stand up for yourself. And you get married, you have to modify that book. You have your second and third edition, or you get a girlfriend that's serious, right? Then you have to like, okay, second edition of the book, where it's basically the same book, but like page numbers off a little bit, right? You get married, fourth edition, right?
Yeah.
When you have a kid, it's like looking at the first edition of that book and the 12th. It's not the same book. You take the book, you burn it. You don't try to go through that class 7 editions back, because that stuff don't work no more, right? They're still using old formulas. They're still, you know, old policies. You know, they don't have the last in that book. It's a bad book. So take the book. As soon as that kid's born, burn it. Don't try to use it again. Because where we get into trouble as men a lot of times is that we really try to use the same book to navigate this new world. And we can't do that.
So preach, Uchena, preach.
So I tell them all the time, get ready, take that book, because that book don't make no. Any assumption you're gonna make is okay. That's what we do. We say, well, this happened here. Don't be married to it, because more than likely you're wrong. Like Brent said, roll with the punches. Don't try to force stuff, because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about, and none of us did.
Right.
No.
Everyone just guessed and figured their way out to this. So take the book, torch the book.
Torch the book. I love it. I love it. And then I would be remiss if during this time, right, we're in 2020, in June of 2020, when the world is looking at us, right, looking at Black people, looking at Black men, Black women, is looking at us. There is a way that people have talked about Black families and Black men and Black fathers in particular. What would you say? What is it that you would say to people who think they know who you are, right? Like as a Black man, as a Black father.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, I've probably had more of the stereotypical experience that, you know, they think went on, whereas like my parents divorced when I was 2. I was raised with my mom, so dad wasn't really in the picture as much as you know, somebody in a 2-parent home. But that said, in my 1-parent home, my mom always spoke positively about my father, regardless of however she actually felt. She would tell me the things that he used to do that she loved, that a good man does. And so through her, she taught me how to be, you know, a better man, and like how to, you know, essentially learn the things to do, as opposed to only telling me what not to do.
Okay.
And so I think part of the misconception of, you know, the quote unquote, you know, single parent Black family is that even though you haven't had a male role model there, that you still can't be a good male role model. I mean, granted, as Uchena and I were saying, you might have to learn a lot on your own, but it goes more to the character of who you are as a person, and into who you become. And so with that, when everybody's talking about like, oh, the Black family and everything, it's like, I mean, maybe that generation, but there's a whole new generation coming along.
Millennial dads are killing it.
Yeah, where we're sticking together. Like you look, till death do us part. I always tell my wife, like, I see her do something dangerous, I'm like, hey, you're not getting out of this that easy. So, you know, it's one of those things where the joke is that I'm going to be here, you know, well, I'm not going anywhere, and you can't go anywhere either. So like, yeah. I like that. Whereas the stereotype might have been set before, it changes, and that's why you can't really stereotype, because you don't know the way that it's actually um, ex- evolving for each Black family. And that said, we're all different.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. What about you, Uchena? What would you say?
What was the question?
So the
I mean, it was a little bit. I want to make sure I answer the right thing. I can just go ahead and ramble something that sounds cool, or I can answer a question. What was the question?
Okay, so the statement is that people think they know about Black families and Black men as fathers in particular. What is it that you would like people to know that that is more the truth as opposed to the stereotype?
Man, I just that's a rough question to ask. It's a fair question. I spent a lot of time this week talking to my coworkers, creating and leading discussion with people in my corporate circle and a lot of my friends circle. And the main thing that I realized that a lot of people just don't realize, Black people are people too. Like it sounds stupid, but if I sit here and have the full explanation and conversation that I had, and again, it's the methodical nature of an idea and moving one micro step at a time, it leads to a certain conclusion. The decisions that people make, the assumptions that people make, the way that people answer certain questions, it converges on a single idea: is that you're not treating that person as a person. The question you just asked me right now is, what do you think people want to know about Black dad? Like, they're just the same as other dads. They're the same as other people. They have different struggles and different things, but a lot of people have those different struggles too. That's why people say all lives matter, because everybody goes through stuff. The issue is that we're not paying attention. You're not paying attention or giving credence to those people's issues, right? Mm-hmm. And so now we're looking at it like it's this new thing we have to study with the microscope, as opposed to starting from the point that everybody's the same and then figuring out what the discrepancies are. People focus on the discrepancies and conclude that people aren't the same. Right? Mm-hmm. So what do I want people to know about Black dads? Is that, first of all, Black dads, even though they're all different, they're all okay. It's just dads, Mm-hmm. It's important to know what everybody's struggle is, right? At this time right now, it's probably a little bit important to figure out what the struggle of that Black person, that Black dad is. Know what those differences they're facing are, but also be reminded that they're just like everybody else. So when you're trying to solve those problems with the same humanity you give to anybody else.
That's a good point. I totally
that other people are going through stuff too, and we're going through stuff. So we're going through, and just approach with the same humanity, because we're all just the same.
That's real. I can appreciate that. And the point of my question, as someone married to a Black dad, is not that I think that you're different. It's that other people think that you are.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
I know.
Yeah. And that's that. I think the people who are watching, generally the people that watch my show are reasonable, sympathetic people, right? And not sympathetic in the way that generally that word is used.
Yeah.
But that they understand that we're people, and that some of us are in two-parent households. Some people get divorced. Some people don't stick around. Like the same things that are possible in white families, right? That all the different permutations of family are also available to us, right? We also have single family houses, or dads who weren't there, or dads who were there, or stepdads, or whatever the case is, but we don't get the privilege of being allowed to have all of those different variations of family, right? We get pigeonholed in the negative one
thing,
right? Exactly. So that's where I'm going with that, is that we should be allowed, to have, I think about it, like we should be allowed to have the Ratchet Black TV show, because there are a myriad of other shows that show us in other lights. It's when there's only the Ratchet, campus, reality.
I think you articulated what I was trying to say much better.
Yeah. But to your point, Candice, there are differences, and it is in that perception that the world has of us. I mean, imagine if there was like a lion, right? And, Mufasa's just chilling on the loose. Like, the world thinks of lions in a particular way. And so even though that lion's a father, that lion's trying to provide for his kids and whatnot. I mean, really in lions, the females do the hunting, but, we'll go
still
roll with the analogy.
Roll with it.
So it's hard being the quote unquote lion that everyone, is both afraid of, but also respects or trying to be respectful of, but at the same time still really afraid of, because it's like, the lion's on the loose, can't hunt the lion, lion's endangered. But is the lion gonna come eat me? So it's like, hey, lion doesn't care about you. Like, lion is just trying to get through his day,
Unless you put yourself in front of the lion. I like this analogy.
Pretty much. So
I love it.
Yeah. And that said, there's a lot of people that are afraid of the lion and like, oh, he was heading right for me. It's like, no, he wasn't. So yeah, being the quote unquote lion in the analogy, it's hard to make sure that you don't look at anybody in the way that's going to set them off when you're just trying to go about your day. But also,
I use a similar analogy too.
I know. And then also try to teach your kids like, hey, like, you're a vegetarian or something, but everybody else is just going to see a lion.
What's excessive force against the lion?
Right.
Doesn't matter. It's coming to get you.
Right.
Exactly. So it's hard being the lion. The lion definitely has his own pressures and struggles and tribulations that he's going through. But I mean, at the same time, it's, it's a beautiful day. Sometimes it's beautiful, sitting on Pride Rock. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I watch The Lion King a lot. So I'm very, very versed in all that the light touches is ours. So.
Oh, I love that. All that the light touches is ours. I love that. Well, on that note, on that beautiful note, I just want to say, Brent and Uchena, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This has been incredible. It's been several years since I've seen you both, but to my joy, it feels like yesterday. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having us. It was awesome.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time.